Why, hello there, old sports, and I have a problem. I've done many Hollow Knight challenges, but all of them weren't stressful enough. In most of, if not all of my other Hollow Knight challenges, if I die, I was just allowed to respawn and try again, with nothing lost but like 20 minutes of my time at most. But that just won't do. I want to feel like I'm playing a horror game. I want my heart to be pounding out of my chest. So I decided that for my next Hollow Knight challenge, I was going to do something in Steel Soul mode. For those not in the know, Steel Soul mode is a side mode for Hollow Knight that allows you to replay the game with a few small changes, but the biggest change that Steel Soul mode provides is the fact that if you die once, your save file will be deleted. But Steel Soul mode is too easy. I could beat it with my eyes closed. So I decided I was going to beat Hollow Knight Steel Soul without using any of the overpowered charms, and then without quitting out, and then also without dying even in the dream world. But then I thought about it more, and I realized, well, if I'm not just using the overpowered charms, why don't I just not use any charms at all? And then while I'm at it, why don't I sit at any benches? And then just for good measure, how about I can't use focus to heal? For those not in the know, sitting at a bench in Hollow Knight allows you to save your game and fully heal yourself, as well as equip charms. Charms are little modifiers that give you just random effects depending on what each individual charm does. And finally, focusing allows you to use the soul you gather from striking enemies to heal yourself. So we're not doing any of that. And by we, I mean I, because you're not doing this. Now you may be thinking, doesn't this mean you can't heal at all? And you would mostly be correct, and the only healing options we do have are very limited. Now if we can't equip charms, that means we can't do the Grim Troop side quest, meaning we can't unlock some of the Pantheons, meaning we can't do the final ending of Hollow Knight. So I'm just going to do the Dream No More ending, which involves you getting 1800 Essence, getting both halves of the King Soul, getting the Void Heart, and then fighting the Radiance. Now, if you know things about the game, you might have realized there was a pretty big problem with that plan, but I didn't realize that yet, so we'll get to that when I came to that realization. Anyways, with the rules laid out, let us begin the run. Now, as we explore King's Pass, we pretty quickly run into one of our best friends for this whole challenge, that being lifeblood cocoons. Upon these cocoons breaking, they spit out a few little life seeds which, when killed, give us lifeblood masks. These masks act as temporary health that will disappear upon taking damage or sitting at a bench. Thankfully, we can't even do one of those, so that second part is irrelevant. Now, there are only 8 lifeblood cocoons spread throughout the kingdom, but they will respawn upon sitting at a bench, which unfortunately we cannot do, but there are also some one-time events that happen in the game that allow them to respawn, and we will be taking full advantage of that. Now, using this much lifeblood might be dangerous if we were a lesser bug, but since the knight is just built different, this will have no lasting consequences. Thank God. Now, unfortunately, I almost immediately lose one of my lifeblood masks to a random husk while trying to rescue a grub, and honestly, I'm not even sure why I spent so much time trying to rescue grubs throughout this run, because it's not like I got a pale ore from rescuing the grubs, and I could have gotten the geo from other places that were safer. So, yeah, I took a lot of dumb hits trying to rescue grubs this run. And if that wasn't bad enough, I also lost my second lifeblood mask when trying to fight Gruzmother. And honestly, I probably should have waited to fight this boss until I had the Vengeful Spirit, but hey, what can you do about it now? But after exploring the rest of the crossroads and rescuing a few grubs here or there, I went and fought False Knight, and honestly this guy is a pushover, because I'm so used to no-hitting this boss, I have it down to like a science almost, like I know exactly how many hits are needed, I know exactly how many hits I can get at specific opportunities. This fight was a joke. Anyways, after killing False Knight so we can fight Failed Champion later, I enter the Ancestral Mound and get the Vengeful Spirit spell. Now, before actually fighting the Elder Balder to leave, I go into this little side area here and gather 2 more lifeblood masks from a cocoon. Then from there, I kill the Elder Balder and actually leave the mound. Now that I have Fireball, I decided to go fight the Brooding Moloch before entering Green Path, and while I do that, I want to explain some things. Whenever you get 4 mask shards, you get an additional permanent mask of health, and when this happens, it refills all your health completely. So, ideally, I wanted to be at 3 out of 4 mask shards for as long as possible, so if I ever got low on health, I could just go grab a quick mask shard, and then be at full health again with an additional health mask, just for safety, I guess. Now, I did end up rescuing enough grubs to get a mask shard from Grubfather, so I figured I should get another one from the Brooding Moloch. Now, this did cost me a lifeblood mask, but I felt like that was a worthy trade-off. Now that I had 2 of 4 mask shards, I entered Green Path finally, and almost immediately got hit by one of the Infection Cloud enemies, losing my last lifeblood mask. Now, with a few exceptions here or there, I'm not going to go over every other time I've gotten hit in this run, because it's just kind of tedious. So just assume if you see me lose a lifeblood mask between cuts and footage that I just lost it to a random fodder enemy. Thankfully, halfway through Green Path in the room before you fight the first Moss Knight, you can find another lifeblood cocoon that gets you 2 more lifeblood masks. While I still had some lifeblood, I went and fought the first Hornet fight for the Mothwing Cloak. And again, this fight was kind of a joke, because while I've never actually completed a no-hit run of this game, I have gotten plenty of attempts past Hornet, which means I have a lot of experience on how to fight this fight pretty carefully and how to do it without getting hit in general. And after getting Dash, I made my way down into the Fog Canyon, and while this area wasn't very eventful right now, it was really weird because I have this odd just compulsion to hit all of the jellyfish, and some of them explode if you hit them, so you have to be careful in this area. And later on, when I had a lot more equipment, I would rush past this area whenever I needed to go through here, and I'd end up taking a hit or 2, so that was annoying. But what ended up being even more annoying was the fact that I never really learned my lesson. I was also going to put a subscriber plug here, but I felt like it kind of was awkward, so I guess subscribe, I guess? Okay, moving on. Now, even though I've reached the Queen's Station and can enter the Fungal Waste from that direction, I decided against it, because if I did that, I would have to clear out the Shroomel Ogre Arena, and if I did that, I would have to pick up the Charm Notch. Now, for some reason, picking up a Charm Notch heals you fully for some reason. It didn't used to do that. That was a thing that was added in an update, but it does it regardless on the current patch. Now, since this is a way to basically bank a full heal for later, I decided that I'm going to enter the Fungal Waste via the Crossroads entrance, so I can enter the Fungal Waste after that room, therefore I can come back later and do it if I need to heal. From there, I made my way down to the Mantis village with little difficulty, and was able to dispatch the mantises pretty quickly, because the big mantises can be taken down with 1 fireball and 1 nail strike, and then to gather the soul I would hit the baby mantises 3 times, which would take them out as well. So I was able to always have enough soul to fireball the bigger mantises, and I guess my point here is just that they're pretty easy to deal with if you just stick back and don't underestimate how far they can dash. Or lunge, whatever the word is. Anyways, after clearing out the Mantis village, I was able to grab the Mantis Claw. And from there, I decided to go rescue Bretta because she would give me a mask shard that I could grab later. Unfortunately, on my way to rescue Bretta, I did end up taking a hit losing my last lifeblood mask, but I was able to rescue Bretta, so that's what matters, I guess. From here, I had a few decisions on how I would get into the city. I could go the straightforward way through the gate using the crest I picked up from the False Knight, but that would only give me access to the western part of the city, and I would need access to the eastern part of the city if I wanted to get everything done. So what I ended up deciding to go with is fighting the Mantis Lords, and from there, I would go through Deep Nest, reach the tram, and then take the tram to the city, therefore I'd be able to climb up the elevator shaft into the eastern part of the city. Now, thankfully, I decided to go pick up the little lifeblood cocoon above the Mantis Lords arena, because I did end up taking 2 hits to the Lords, but that was mostly just because I was being stupid and not really paying attention, which is still my fault completely. I just would like to point out that it was a skill issue as much as it was a stupidity issue. Also, when looking back at the footage, this fight only took me about 2 minutes, but I swear it felt like at least 5 when I was fighting the battle. Now, thankfully, even though our nail damage is pretty low for this point of the game, and our spell damage on top of that, I was able to get through the Mantis Lord's battle without losing any of my normal white masks. But unfortunately, after reaching Deep Nest, that streak quickly comes to an end as one of the Dirt Carver enemies takes my first white mask of the run. And I think this is actually kind of funny being in Deep Nest and seeing the focus prompt for the first time. After navigating through the winding tunnels of Deep Nest, I reached the Deep Nest hot spring and decide that, you know what, I'm not going to actually use any of these. Yeah, there's only like 4 of them in the whole game, but there's one that's really easy to reach in the crossroads, and that would basically be like having an infinite bench anyway. Or I mean, the hot spring is an infinite healing source, so it's basically the same as sitting on a bench, so I'm just not going to use them. After making that decision, I beelined towards the failed tramway where the tram pass resides, and while I did take a hit on the way there, in the failed tramway itself there is another lifeblood cocoon that gives us 2 more masks. And while I did end up breaking both of them while trying to actually reach the tram pass, I did reach it nonetheless. And from there, all it took was retracing my steps and getting past some invincible centipede enemies to reach the tram that would take me to the City of Tears. And after using all of my mental power to remember not to sit on the bench like an idiot, I reached the ancient basin, and from there I took the little side tunnel to the little arena that guards a pale ore, which will allow us to upgrade our nail. And thankfully I've gotten hit enough by these little Moloch enemies on my no-hit run attempts to the point where I can just defeat them flawlessly now, because I don't want to have to go through that again. Anyways, I grab the pale ore and skedaddle up the elevator shaft into the City of Tears and unlock the King's Station. Now, since my health was starting to get pretty low, and by that I mean I only had 3 health left, I decided to go back to the Queen's Station now that I had Mantis Claw and grab the Mask Shard there, and then I went back to Dirtmouth and then bought a single Mask Shard from Sly, earning myself a 6th mask and a full heal. Now that I had some more health and the ability to make some more mistakes, I went back into the Queen's Station so I could reach the Fog Canyon, and then from there I made my way towards Howling Wraiths, or the mound that Howling Wraiths is in, rather. Now, on the way there is another lifeblood cocoon, and instead of having 2 seeds like most of the cocoons in the kingdom, this one actually has 3, making it one of the only 3 cocoons in the whole kingdom that gives you 3 life seeds, because the rest give you 2. Now, unfortunately, I did end up losing most of them to the arena and trying to just leave the building after getting Howling Wraiths, but that's the price of progress, I suppose. Now, for some reason, after getting a new spell, I decided the best person to test it on would be one of the big husk guards in the city, the red ones that do double damage, and I ended up taking 2 masks of damage for my hubris. After that, I decided I should stop putting off upgrading my nail because I have more than enough money, and I have a pale ore, meaning I can upgrade my nail twice. Now, upgrading our nail once makes us go from doing 5 damage to 9 damage, and then upgrading it a second time makes it go from 9 damage to 13 damage, so that's 8 more damage over our starting damage value from the start of the game. Now, while I'm not going to get the final nail upgrade, I will get the penultimate nail upgrade, because I can't make up the difference in damage with the strength charm, so I might as well just get as many base upgrades as I can. Now, I am getting kinda low on Geo, so I finally cash in all of the relics I've been holding on to in the city for some more money, and then from there, I return to Dirtmouth and buy a Mask Shard and the Lumafly Lantern from Sly. The Lumafly Lantern is one of the 2 things we can use to get into the Crystal Peaks, which guards our next ability. Now, this isn't too relevant to the challenge, but I forgot there was this leaping husk in this room, and I was just dashing by and I wasn't even paying attention to the screen, and I only noticed in editing that this guy just barely hopped over me and I barely avoided taking damage, so that was lucky, I guess. Now, upon actually getting into the Crystal Peaks, I ran into a problem, and by that I mean I took 2 damage, leaving me at 2 HP. Now, this actually made me think, okay, I shouldn't go do some risky stuff, I should just get the Crystal Heart and get out of here as quickly as possible, and that's what I did. Now, unfortunately, I didn't remember to grab the shopkeeper's key before I left, and when I got back to town and I tried to buy another Mask Shard from Sly, I realized I didn't get the key. So we're gonna have to come back here later to get both the shopkeeper's key for Sly's expanded inventory and the pale ore at Hallinest's Crown. Now, since my health was getting pretty low at this point, I thought, okay, well, if I can get another Charm Notch, that should heal me to full. I wonder if the healing effect works on the ones you can buy from Salubra. So after buying 5 charms from her inventory, or her stock, I guess, to be able to unlock one of the Charm Notches, I bought the Charm Notch, and it didn't heal me. That's like 2,000 Geo down the drain. So I thought, okay, going to the Dream World usually heals you to full health, so I should go get the Dream Nail right now. So I used the crystal heart to crystal dash into the Blue Lake area, which then allowed me to access the resting grounds and the Dreamer Shrine, which brought me to the dream world, and god damn it! Now literally every other time you go into the dream world from the normal world, you get healed to full health. Except here. So, yippee, I guess. Dream nail in hand, I returned to the fungal waste to get that one Shroomal Ogre charm notch I didn't get earlier. That's why you plan ahead, folks. And while I was in the fungal wastes, I decided to go kill Elder Hu for 100 essence. So, take that, old man. Now that I had a more comfortable amount of health, I returned to the Crystal Peaks and got the Shopkeeper's Key, which will allow Sly to sell us new items, including 2 new mask shards, so that's good. After getting the key, I made my way up to Hallownest's crown and ended up taking 2 damage along the way, so I'm glad I went and healed. So, after reaching Hallownest's crown, I'm able to grab another pale ore, which means I need 1 more and then I can get the penultimate nail upgrade. After that, I go fight Zero and take a hit from him, so that's also not good, but I do get more essence, so now I'm up to 200. Now that I had the Shopkeeper's Key, I made sure to trade all my eggs into Jin so I could get some more Geo, allowing me to buy the Elegant Key. Now the Elegant Key unlocks a side area of the Soul Sanctum in the City of Tears, and after defeating the Soul Warrior there, I'm able to get an upgrade for my Fireball, turning it from the Vengeful Spirit into the Shade Soul. Now if you're unaware, the base damage of the Shade Soul is double that of the base damage of the Vengeful Spirit, so it's a very worthwhile upgrade. Upgraded spell in hand, I return to Dirtmouth and buy another mask shard from Sly, completing another full mask and healing me fully again. Now after taking some damage to some enemies, I decide the best course of action is to return to Deep Nest, because I knew there was a cocoon I hadn't gotten yet, and that's the one above Galleon. And then while I'm here, I thought I'd just kill Galleon real quick for his essence, but unfortunately he ended up taking all of the lifeblood masks that I just got, so I'm back at square one. After that, I explore the rest of Deep Nest until I reach the distant village, and then from there, I realize that I'm gonna need to have to sit on a bench if I want to get to Hera, which is something I cannot do. Now thankfully there is a way around this, but I'll have to come back later, so I buy the stag and leave. Now that I have 400 essence, I return to Seer and get the 300 essence gift of a pale ore. And then from there, I return to the nailsmith and get my final nail upgrade for this run. Then after that, I decide, you know what's a good idea? Fighting Dung Defender for some reason. It's not like he gives me access to anything I'm gonna use. So, I ended up taking a lot of damage to Dung Defender like an idiot. So to solve my current health predicament, I decide the best course of action is to go fight the failed champion. Now, whenever you dream nail one of these dream battle rematch things, you'll get put to full health, but the only way out of the dream is either by dying or winning. And, I can't die, obviously, so we have to win. So even though this does heal us, we do need to actually get out of the dream somehow. Now, unfortunately, the brute strength of failed champion almost did me in, and while I did survive the battle, I lost all of the health that I got back, leaving me at 3 HP just like I started this fight with, so that's fucking wonderful. Now, while I was in the crossroads, I decided to check to see if going into the dream world had refreshed any of the cocoons, because it seemed to have respawned some of the enemies, so I wondered if the cocoons were included in this, and thankfully, they were. So that means I have a whole new batch of cocoons I can go harvest for their lifeblood masks. I also decided to go grab the cocoon in the King's Pass, and while I was there I figured I should go fight Gorb for the essence. After defeating Gorb, I went through the other end of the Howling Cliffs down into Green Path, where I got the other cocoon that's above the Moss Knight. Then I made my way down into the No Eyes Stone Sanctuary area. And not only did I kill No Eyes for the essence, I also got another mask shard, putting me at 3 of 4 mask shards. Now at this point, I had 5 HP, 3 normal masks, and 2 blue masks. Now, this is not a lot of health. This is the basic health. And at least when I can heal, that takes some pressure off. But when I know I can only make 4 mistakes, that puts a lot of pressure on you. So I made a decision, and it was a rash one. I need to go kill the Watcher Knights. Because if I can go kill the Watcher Knights, that not only will allow me to enter the dream world and kill Lurien, it will make it so I'm safe. I don't have to fight a boss to leave the dream world. All I need to do is kill Lurian, and I will not only be out of the dream world with full HP, but the lifeblood cocoons will respawn again. Also, I had been playing for 2 hours at this point without eating, drinking, or going to the bathroom, and it was almost around like dinner time for me. So I decided that if I was able to kill Lurian, since it hard saves your like respawn location at the Watcher Spire, I decided that I would be allowed to quit out if I was able to kill Lurian, because it would be like I was just taking a pause or something. Nothing would change is what I'm trying to get across, because entering the dream world would respawn all the enemies like sitting at a bench would anyway, so hopefully that all makes sense. 2 hours of some of the best Hollow Knight I was playing came down to one decision. If I won, I'd have a chance to eat and drink and just cool down a bit, but if I died, I would not only have lost 2 hours of my life, but I'd also have to live with the knowledge that it was because I made a stupid mistake. As Lurian rested in his tower, I approached the Watcher's Spire. One of us was going to die tonight, and it wasn't going to be me. After waking up from my nap, I immediately kill Lurian's butler and then steal his wallet. Then from there, I make my way over to the Soul Sanctum, and before I can even fight Soul Master, I get mollywopped by like 3 Soul Twisters, and I live, but it's still really annoying. Now thankfully, once I actually reach Soul Master, the fight is a breeze, because 1, this fight's kind of a pushover in general, and 2, the equipment I have is very much overtuned for this version of the fight. Now Soul Tyrant is a bit more difficult, but we'll get to that in a moment. Okay, that's enough moments, let's fight Soul Tyrant. And by that I mean I'm going to fight Soul Tyrant, and by that I mean this fight was kind of annoying because yes, I got a full heal, but I ended up losing all the health I gained, just like with False Knight, god damn it. After killing Soul Tyrant and getting his essence, I return to Dirtmouth and the Crossroads that are now infected, and make my way down and then do the quick acid skip into the Fog Canyon so I don't have to go get Isma's Tear, which technically I could have because I killed Dung Defender, but I don't care about that now because I've already finished the video recording stuff. Now I made sure to go get a bunch of lifeblood masks before fighting Umu because Umu can either go really quickly and really smoothly, or this fight will take forever and it will go terribly. Now thankfully this time around it went very smoothly, but it was good to have a buffer just in case. Even though we don't have Shaman Stone, Shade Soul by itself still does a number on Umu. Combine that with the fact we have the penultimate nail upgrade, and this boss goes down very quickly. And with that, we have 2 Dreamers down, 1 more to go. Now, being completely transparent, I probably could have gotten the Monarch Wings a lot earlier, but to actually fight Broken Vessel, you need to get past a little obstacle course involving those little spitting Moloch enemies. And the thing about that is they're kind of RNG based, because they can spit at different times or at different angles, and that can cause you to get hit. So I was worried that if I didn't have enough health, I could die there, and obviously I don't want to die. So I was trying to wait for the perfect opportunity to go do it, and I was kind of always struggling for health for a while after getting the Crystal Dash, but now that I killed Monomon, I have enough health to where I can go do that. Now, funnily enough, it was actually pretty easy to get through that little obstacle course. I only took damage to one of the spitting enemies, even if I took multiple hits. But that wasn't even the one I was scared about, so the fact that I got past the ones that I thought were going to be a problem with no trouble kinda was just funny to me, I guess. Anyways, after getting past that section, I can finally fight the Broken Vessel, and it took me 45 seconds to kill it. Like, it was just a bloodbath, or an infection bath? I'm not sure. Regardless, I tore it to shreds before going and grabbing the Monarch Wings. Now, unfortunately, when I went back for seconds, it seems that Lostkin decided to stop fucking around, and it hit me 3 times. Now, I did end up killing it, but honestly, sometimes the fact that it doesn't kill me doesn't matter. All that matters is that it's slowly chipping away at my health, causing me to have to consume more and more of my limited healing options, until all that's left is death. But that's not happening right now, so let's continue. Monarch Wings in hand, I make my way through Kingdom's Edge, just quickly dispatching any enemies that got in my way, and then I finally reached Hornet 2. And while I'm very good at fighting Hornet 1 without getting hit, the same cannot be said for the sequel. Now, I didn't die here obviously, but it was just kind of stressful because I was trying to hyper-focus on not getting hit, and sometimes just trying to focus not only makes you do worse, but it also stresses you out, so that's never good. Now, thankfully for me, after defeating Hornet 2 and claiming the King's brand as my own, after completing the little cutscene where Hornet rescues you from the collapsing shell, we find that our health has been fully restored. I guess getting knocked out by a boulder and then resting still counts as resting, so yeah. Now that I have access to the Abyss, I immediately go upgrade the Howling Wraith spell into the Abyss Shriek spell. Now this is our most powerful damaging option as it does 80 damage, but it's kind of hard to get it off in certain instances, though it is much easier to use than Howling Wraiths. From there I have an uneventful stroll through the Abyss, turn on the lighthouse, and then go claim the Shade Cloak as my own. Now that I have the final 2 equipment item movement ability thingies, I return to the Seer and talk to her. Now I do have enough essence to get a Mask Shard and to even upgrade the Dream Nail, but I'm not going to do that right now because I want to save the Mask Shard for when I really need it. So for now I just unlock Dreamgate and then move on. From there, I return to Deep Nest and then make my way from Deep Nest up into the Queen's Gardens, so I don't have to do any acid skips and risk losing health or dying, and so I don't have to go get Isma's Tear, because it's kind of just out of the way and I don't really feel like going and grabbing it. Now, thanks to the jumping spider grass-covered enemy things, I almost died, but after unlocking the Stag Station, I used the power of Dreamgate to teleport back to safety. Thank God. Actually, now that I think about it, I could have just used the Stag Station. That was stupid, I just wasted an essence. I'm an idiot. So after wasting an essence, I return to the Seer, get my new mask and heal myself, and then fully upgrade the Dream Nail into the Awoken Dream Nail, so now I can enter the White Palace. Now that I actually have some health to play with, I return to the Queen's Gardens and go fight the Traitor Lord, and ironically, the little minions you need to fight before he even spawns did more damage to me than the Traitor Lord himself. And I actually didn't even use any spells in this fight until the end because I was too hyper-focused on trying to dodge, because while usually Traitor Lord is a complete pushover, even if he won't kill me, doing 2 damage to me is very bad. It will very much fuck me up. So I just want to be extra careful. Health is a resource we do not have in abundance. Anyways, after I kill the Traitor Lord, I go to the White Lady's cocoon, and then get the first half of the King Soul. And then I remember that King Soul is a charm, and I stand there for like 30 seconds while my brain is just thinking about how I could be so stupid and not realize this. I literally said I wasn't going to do Dream or Embrace the Void because I can't use Grimchild, which is a charm, and then I decided, okay, we'll do the other ending that requires a charm. I am an idiot. After that, I decided to try to stall for time to think of a solution and go do the White Palace. Now, even before I realized how much of a dumbass I am, I always knew the White Palace was going to be tricky, because doing a whole platforming gauntlet without any healing and with limited health sounds like a nightmare. Now, unfortunately, things didn't really get off to a very good start, because I almost instantly took a hit to the King's Mold because I wasn't being very careful. But thankfully, when you enter the dream that the White Palace takes place in, you regain all of your health. Which I think is interesting, because a death here does actually count as a real death for the purposes of Steel Soul, so I thought if any place wouldn't count as like a healing dream, this would be it, but I'm not complaining. Now, fortunately, after unlocking the first elevating platform, I found out something kinda silly you can do. There's a little glowing dream catcher that you can step on that allows you to leave the White Palace dream, which means you can re-enter the dream, meaning you can heal yourself. Now, at first I felt like this was a bit cheap to use this to infinitely heal, but then I remembered that this is literally the only thing I have to do, so it's not like I'm using this for any other purpose. And honestly, in the end, it didn't even really matter anyways, but I'll get to that. I was able to get through the rest of the White Palace relatively easily, because, if I counted my deaths correctly, which I probably didn't, but let's just assume I was close-ish, I died 72 times up to this point. In the White Palace alone, I died 49 times. I had some practice doing these platforming sections. Anyways, after completing both halves of the King Soul, I decide to return to Deep Nest via the Stag Station, and then take this little secret entrance that you can get to by using the Wings and Crystal Dash to enter the Beast's Den without actually sitting on the bench, thus keeping some of my pride intact. And thankfully, due to the fact that I'm able to enter another dream to kill Hera, I'm able to heal myself to full once again. Now, the first of the two final bosses is the Hollow Knight, and unfortunately the Hollow Knight was pretty easy, kinda like in most challenge runs, because we're really prepared for what comes after them, so this fight isn't actually that challenging. But ironically enough, I actually took more damage than the boss that comes after this, so that's funny, I guess. But then again, I was playing kind of sloppily because I knew I would get a full heal going into the battle with the Radiance. Now, unfortunately for the poor Hollow Knight, as the phases progress, you'll be able to use the Abyss Shriek because some of its attacks where it uses the infection cause it to stand still in just the perfect spot for you to scream at it. So even though I was barely dodging for this fight, by the time my health got low enough for me to start worrying, it was already over. Now, I'm gonna be honest, I'm not sure if the Radiance or the Hollow Knight was a more difficult fight in this challenge, because I could argue that the Hollow Knight only went as badly as it did because I wasn't really being careful, while for the Radiance I was being extra careful because this is the final boss and there's no safety net here. Then again, the Radiance is just a statistically stronger boss than the Hollow Knight, so you could also argue that. But then again, the Radiance is a lot more susceptible to the Abyss Shriek than the Hollow Knight is, and the Abyss Shriek does fuck tons of damage. Now, my main strategy, I guess, for this fight was to hit the Radiance 3 times, then Abyss Shriek, then hit 3 times, all while dodging, and then rinse and repeat. And the thing about this is I just wanted to save as much soul as I could for when the platform phase started so I could just melt a good chunk of her HP bar right off the bat. And honestly, you could argue that for the base Radiance, the platform phase is the easiest because she moves so much slower. I only took 2 hits this whole battle, and one of them was intentional, where I threw myself into the void to avoid taking damage from the light wall. But at that point, the Radiance had already fled upwards and started shooting her lasers down at me, and by that point the battle was already won. So can you beat Hollow Knight's Stupidest challenge, where you can't use charm, benches, or healing? Sort of. I mean, technically I could have just done the Hollow Knight ending, and that would still fulfill all of my rules criteria. But if you allow yourself to sit on a bench once and equip King Soul, then yes, it is possible. Sorry if this ending is pretty anticlimactic, but I feel like the first half of this challenge was a lot more, challenging than the second half. Anyways, before we go, I'd like to thank my 4 YouTube channel members. Thank you for your continued financial support. I could not do this without you. Now, I'm gonna be honest, I don't know what's coming next for the YouTube channel. I'm not quitting by any means. I just have been considering taking a short break from YouTube to work on some game development stuff, but I'm not sure how that's gonna go, or I'm not sure if I'll even do that. I might just keep making videos for the time being. I guess only time will tell. Anyways, I really hope you liked this video and that it was able to brighten up your day, even if just a little bit. If you liked this video, please consider commenting, hyping, all that good stuff, and if you're feeling extra kind, maybe consider subscribing. I'm at about almost 9,000 subscribers, and I guess I just have like a goal to reach 10,000 subscribers by my birthday in April, so that'd be cool. But if it doesn't happen, that's also fine. I'm just trying to set like a mental road timeline for myself. I don't know. Anyways, like I said, I hope you enjoyed the video. Have a good day, and good night.